Seattle Mariners just won their 9th series in a row. A wild one down in Sacramento versus the Athletics. Joe and I are going to break down this series, really how close all of these games were and how it could have gone either way. We're going to talk about the pickup of Leody Taveras. Obviously, the Mariners just got him off of waivers from the Texas Rangers. We'll talk about what he can bring to this team. Also, 2 Mariners relievers are out on rehab assignments right now, so reinforcements may be coming soon. Joe's going to come up with on the spot an Operation Overreaction, and then we're going to talk about this upcoming Blue Jays series starting on Friday. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 189 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav network, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. And this is the Martin and the Taser episode of the podcast. Both of them just bought merch off of our Fourth Wall shop, the link down below. Appreciate that. Again, if you guys get the merch, send us some pictures of you in it. We'll retweet it. We'll, use your likeness. Yeah, for promotional reasons. And I'm here with Joe. Joe, we watched most of that game together. Fun end of the game.
Yeah, the beginning, I'm glad I missed the beginning part of the game, at least watching it together, I didn't want to have those such big negative vibes just sitting here brooding, but instead we got to watch them make a very, I don't want to say miraculous because it wasn't like that, whatever, but like a good comeback victory. It's back-to-back days where you come from behind and you steal a game on the road. You win your 9th consecutive series. This could have been a sweep.
Yep.
It very well could have been.
Also could have been swept real easy.
But could have been swept because they were very close games all across the board. Starting on Monday, I almost said Friday. Monday, a 7-6 in extra innings loss the Mariners did unfortunately take on the chin after probably the gutsiest pitching performance out of a reliever I've ever seen from Andres Munoz. Some shenanigans going on. Bases loaded, no outs, strikes out the next 3 guys. Losing that game just is a tough situation in general, but alas, it was only the first game. Overall, I mean, Miller, again, inconsistent, likely. He just needs to go on the IL for 50 days, I think. But if he comes back healthy in the next one and he pitches well, that's, maybe it's just something that's like something small that's going on, but it doesn't seem that way given how he's looked in every single start.
Yeah, Bryce was only able to go 4 innings in this one, and obviously that taxes the bullpen a lot. We saw Trent Thornton go out there for 2 innings. I Bleav Vargas
did 2
threw
innings.
A couple innings as well in this game. So, yeah, just a rough all-around game for this pitching staff, which led to the bullpen being taxed. Also, some bad calls made by Dan. He admitted himself that he thinks he lost the team that one. I would have to agree.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, the umpires also lost that one for the Mariners because there was some horrible calls from the umpires in this game on both sides. But the catcher's interference was wild. Mm-hmm. The not check swing was wild.
Was that Soderstrom?
I believe so. Yeah, and it was just that game all around. I was
just cursed.
I was in a blender. This entire series was cursed. I don't ever want to go back to Sacramento. We do it at the end of July. I don't want to go back because every single game felt cursed, including game 2, where the Mariners were able to pull out a 5-3 victory in this one. Another big comeback in this one, Joe.
Yeah, Hancock kept you in this game. Another great Road Warrior start. Thank you for giving me credit on the stream when you said that. Yeah, a great start from Hancock in this one. Just goes out there and keeps the team in the game and pitches to contact. Is efficient. Very much so. Could have gone into the 7th. Mm-hmm. He was only, 71 pitches?
I believe so.
So Dan pulled him probably because the time through the order, and I understand that, but with how inefficient Bryce was in the first game, it felt like maybe the team in general going into the final day could have used, even during that second game, Hancock to go 7. He was only at 71 pitches, but regardless, they come away with a victory in this one courtesy of a bases-loaded RBI single that drives in 2 from pinch hitter Cal Raleigh. Thank goodness Dan had the wherewithal to pinch hit Cal there. I mean, it's the easiest decision he's probably had to make as a manager.
Yeah.
Is pinch hitting Cal for Garver in that situation with the bases loaded. But something in my mind was like, we might not see Cal here.
Yeah, because I mean, you're thinking, do they want to try to give Cal the full day off? Cal would have been livid.
Yeah.
Had he not been given that opportunity.
And I just think with the 2 RBI single, it really just swings the pendulum in the Mariners' favor. Going into the final game, they do pad on an extra run with a Dylan Moore who returned from the injured list in this second game. An RBI sac fly. During this game also, it was announced earlier in the day that they claimed Leody Taveras, who we'd see in the final game on Wednesday. He'd start in right field and that 7th. But that second game, Carlos Vargas iced up, struck out the first 2 batters in the bottom of the 9th inning because Andres Munoz was down. And the day after pitching going multiple innings and then coming out for his first career save has to be a huge moment for him. Does give up back-to-back hits. It gets a little dicey, but he does lock it down and get that first ever career save for him. So we're calling it the Vargas trade now. It's no longer the Gino trade. It's the Carlos Vargas trade. I'm here and I'm ready for Vargas to continue to get leverage options and leverage opportunities because his slider is nasty. Second best slider on the team. Andres Munoz is right there. He's a top 3 slider out of the pen because you have Brash and you have Munoz. But I really liked what I saw out of Vargas in that leverage opportunity.
Yeah, he's looked really good so far this year. I think that we didn't really know what to expect out of Carlos Vargas starting the season with this team. And for a bullpen that really needed it, he stepped up. Going into game 3, of course, you said before this series, if you win game 2, you win the series. And man,
it was a lot closer than it should have been in either of those two.
When Brian Wu gave up like 3 runs in the first inning and he just didn't look sharp, I'm like, uh-oh. Like this game felt like it was you were out of it from the very beginning, and the Mariners just kept chipping away, and Brian Wu eventually gave up 2 more runs, and then that was it. The rest of the game for the A's. Brian Wu threw 100 pitches, the most in his career. I Bleav he went 6, right?
Yeah, because Bizardo had the 7th,
and then Spire in the 8th, and then obviously Munoz in the 9th. Yeah, yep. It was a really timely home run from myself, Rowdy Tellez, 3-run dinger out to right field that really set the tone for the Mariner momentum, if you will, for them to come back and win this game.
It continued with the unsung heroes, the bottom of the lineup, bottom of the order continues to churn away. Randy gets a walk. Is pinch ran for Miles Mastrobuoni. Whether that was Randy's decision or if it was a decision coming from Dan, I'm not entirely sure. I think Mariner Muse was tweeting about it while it was happening, that it looked like he was kind of walking gingerly up the line and that he maybe called for himself to get pinch ran for. We know the hamstring issue is still kind of like lingering for Randy. He's been able to play through it, but in that moment, I mean, that's the right call. Yeah. To get fresh legs out on the base paths, especially in a guy like Miles Mastrobuoni. He steals second, and comes Leody Taveras and gets his first base hit for his brand new ball club, the Seattle Mariners, and it drives in the tying run, which then... Wait, is that the tying run? Yes, that's the tying run. That's the tying run. Yes. And then, who was... Wait, am I blanking? Dylan Moore, RBI. Yes. I was center field. Yes, right center field. I was like, who am I missing after Taveras there? Because Demo drove him in right after it. You don't have to face Mason Miller. Thank goodness, because that would have been when the bottom of the lineup was due up in the section of the game where it was supposed to be, you're like, oh great, bottom lineup has to face Mason Miller. Yeah. If they did not come away with a lead there in the top of the 8th inning, Bizardo goes out there again for an extra batter, the righty against Andujar in the bottom of the 8th. Spire quickly gets rid of the 2 lefties in Bleav and Butler, and Munoz is just Andres Munoz.
Yeah, I mean, being able to strike out Jacob Wilson for only the 7th time this year, and he just froze him with a slider, I Bleav, at the top of the zone. What an outing from Andres, who continues to be the best closer in baseball, keeps that ERA right there at 0.0. But we have to talk about Leody Taveras because he came in here and he tied this game up. He just flew in from Boston, probably 12 hours prior to the game.
Yep.
And he's in there in right field. Obviously, the Mariners have had quite a few injuries out there, so with Victor Robles and Luke Raley going on the injured list, you were running Ryland Thomas out there. You didn't feel great about that. Leody Taveras is a guy who's been around for a while, since 2020, and he's never been, a great player after he was a highly touted prospect, but he's pretty serviceable out there. In 2024 with the Texas Rangers, he had a .5 WAR. He hit 229, 289, 352 with an 84 OPS plus. He did hit 12 home runs though, so there is a little bit of pop in that bat. The strikeout numbers are a little concerning there, 117 in 2023 and 112 in 2024. Strikeout rate in his career is 24.3, just a little above average there as well. So for the Mariners, when you look at Leody Taveras, and I think that this is something that the Marine Layer guys pointed out, his numbers are eerily similar. At least his baseball savant numbers are eerily similar to what Victor's were when he came over. Can lightning strike twice, Joe, with Leody Taveras?
It's possible. I don't know if you're going to find that same level of success. And I don't know if it's just being dismissive to what a change of scenery can do. I'm not expecting Taveras to come in and hit 320. And I didn't expect Robles to come in and hit 320 either. Taveras had a much better Mariners debut, also against the Athletics, than Victor Robles did, if we remember from last year with the dropped ball and then the ground into a double play. It was just a weird moment for Victor. But for Taveras, primarily a center fielder, he will obviously be playing corners because Julio's not moving unless he needs a day off or a DH day, which then you have another very good defensive center fielder out there in Leody Taveras. Did you see the comment Jerry Dipoto made about what they like about Leody Taveras?
I didn't listen to the whole thing.
Okay. The main takeaway, and Jage made a very funny graphic. He said the thing, like a tool that he liked about Leody Taveras is that he's got a 65 to 70 grade hose. Is a direct quote from Jerry Dipoto, and then Jage photoshopped the hose onto Taveras' throwing arm. It's a speed defense first guy. We know the bat's not always going to be there. His best OPS plus in his career is a 101 back in 2023, where he was worth basically 3 wins. Of course, that's the year the Rangers won the World Series when their entire offense was clicking on all cylinders. Will they be able to recapture that? I mean, Garver was on that team.
Yeah, he was.
Maybe getting, it's like Mario Baseball where you get one player from the team chemistry. They're going to start, being able to throw rockets to each other, and they're going to hit well if the other's on base. I doubt they'll be playing in the same game super often, but I like the addition. I like the move given the injuries and the depth that you have that you feel is major league ready. Rylan Thomas, yeah, he's got great contact, great defense, great speed. I'm probably going to trust Leody Taveras to give you exactly what you need out of Rylan Thomas before I can trust Rylan Thomas to give us that as well. Cade Marlowe's on the injured list. Dom Canzone, yes, he hits nukes in Tacoma. What can we get out of him in the major league, in a major league club? He has never done it sustained, in a sustained manner for the Mariners. Taking $3.25 million onto your payroll for Leody Taveras for the rest of the year if he does stay with the team. I mean, I don't know how it works, if they DFA him later or, whatever, and then he gets moved again. The other team would then assume the contract the rest of the way. But if Leody stays on this team for the rest of the year, or at least until Raley and Robles are both back, I think he can provide decent value, at least defensively and with his legs. If the bat gets you a clutch base hit every once in a while like it did in Wednesday's finale against the Athletics, I will gladly take it.
He's a guy that it could go either way, right? When it comes to Victor Robles and Luke Raley coming back, hey, depending on what's going on with the rest of this team, maybe someone else is injured at that point. And so you have room for Leody Taveras. So I don't want to play the what-if game there, but assuming everyone is healthy and those guys do come back, you probably end up just DFAing him. With Luke Raley and Victor Robles coming back, we're months away from having to make that decision. But I think that it's a very interesting addition. It's one that the Mariners desperately needed. And the fact that he fell to them in the waiver order was pretty cool, and I was pretty excited about that. They needed some reinforcements, and there are more coming. As Jackson Kowar and Trevor Gott both made a rehab appearance last night in the ACL, I think it was, in the Arizona Complex League. Both guys are coming back from major surgery. I think was Gott's Tommy John, or was it his shoulder?
I don't know fully about Gott, but Kowar was Tommy John.
Yeah, Kowar's was Tommy John. Jackson Kowar could be turned into a pretty damn good reliever in this bullpen. We've talked, but it also feels like we've been talking about that for a while now. Trevor Gott, he's been around the big leagues for quite some time. He is a guy that knows how to pitch. He's been with the Mariners before. He didn't have the greatest time when he was with the Mariners. I think he was signed him for $1 million back in the day.
You know what's crazy? I was kind of bad-mouthing Trevor Gott the other day, and we were comparing him to Austin Voth, and everyone and their mother was like, Gott wasn't that bad. They're pretty similar. I feel like Voth was much better than Trevor Gott. Both had a 101 ERA plus, and Gott had a 99 ERA plus with the Mariners in their tenure. Granted, Voth pitched more innings, but we last saw Gott in 2023, where he appeared in 30 games for the Mariners and pitched 29 innings to a 4.03 ERA. Then I think did they trade him, or did they DFA him and then the Mets picked him up?
I think he was traded, but
okay, because it's back-to-back years where you trade a veteran reliever to the Mets from Gott in 23 and Stanek in 24. If Gott comes back and he's worth anything at the back in the front end of the bullpen for the what?
Just waiting for them to trade Trent Thornton this year to the Mets.
We've discovered a pattern. For the guys in the pen, like, is he better than Casey Legumina? He could be. Is he better than Eduardo Bizardo? He could be. There's options, but there's also guys in Tacoma that you might find to be better than Gott and Kowar in Gregory Santos, if we figured it out, or Troy Taylor, who likely should be better than them if we assume that he can kind of dial it in. Kowar is the more interesting one to me because he is just younger, and I think he's got more like the stuff plus kind of vibes. Granted, with his tenure with the Royals was really bad.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think that as a reliever, he's a guy that you can rely on. He started a lot of games back when, or no, he didn't. He started 8 games in 2021 with the Royals. Then they transitioned him to be a reliever. But I think that Kowar is a guy who can pump 100 miles an hour, who you can put towards the back end of your bullpen. I mean, in the end, if you have to send down Casey Legumina because he has options, so be it.
Yeah.
Like, he's not really getting a ton of leverage innings right now anyway. He's kind of expendable. Same with Thornton, in my opinion. Go out there and either trade him or what have you. There's still a lot of things that have to go right, and that sounds like, according to Mariner Mojo over on Twitter, that they are slow playing the return of those two, which makes sense just based on the injuries that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to take the full 30-day rehab timeline to make sure these guys are game ready, which I think makes sense because the Mariners don't necessarily have a spot unless you are fine with sending down Legumina or shipping out Thornton or what have you.
Yeah.
So I think that it makes sense to do that, and you never know when someone else is going to get hurt. At that point, could you just activate one of them if they're ready to go? Then sure, why not? No point in rushing them right now. The bullpen's been fine, for the most part. Obviously, we've seen, Trent Thornton look a little rough. Colin Snyder's had a few rough outings, but
yeah, there's hiccups.
Yeah, overall, I think the bullpen is largely fine for now, but at some point, someone else is going to get injured.
Yeah, and not to say that Kowar or Gott or any of the other names that we've said in here that are in Tacoma, not with the Major League Club, like I didn't even say like Taylor Saucedo, Sarin Lau, like that they would then come up and be also devoid of having bad outings. Like we don't know. Kowar hasn't pitched since 2023, right?
Yeah.
So it's just it's nice to have more options, and also like if you trade any people like out of the pen sometime at the deadline or prior to it, or if, like the Trent Thornton move, whatever, then that opens up a spot, and then you have options there. I mean, Kowar still has an option, so if you call him up and he doesn't do well, you can just send him back down at some point as well. So
true.
The reinforcements idea around the pen, I'm not sold on entirely on either of them, and that's going to be my operation overreactions. I don't think Kowar or Gott will pitch a singular major league inning for the Mariners even with how like fickle bullpens can be, arm injuries and everything else. I don't think the Mariners bullpen will need either of their services in 2020.
Interesting. The Mariners have used more players than any other team in baseball.
Correct. They're getting it out of the way early.
So I feel like if any team's going to do it, we might be looking at them in the Seattle Mariners. I don't think it's an overreaction because, again, these guys could just as easily just not – they could just not feel like they're ready.
Yeah.
Or they could
if they're slow playing them,
right?
Especially Kowar specifically, make sure that he is like fully ready to go, ramped up for 2026, and turn him into Matt Brash light.
That should have been your operation overreaction.
That he's Matt Brash light.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think you're overreacting too much on something like that. I think that it's certainly possible that, especially like you said, Troy Taylor, Santos is on the injured list. I think Santos is actually out for the year with his knee surgery.
Oh, is it out for the year now?
I don't know if but it's for a while. I know that, but yeah, I think that there's plenty of guys in the Mariners bullpen that they could probably turn to before those guys. It's just a matter of seeing if we think Kowar or Gott could be guys at the back end of this bullpen, which right now, with Brash back and working his way more into leverage situations, Gabe Spire's been great. Andres Munoz has been great. The back end of the bullpen looks pretty good right now. Hopefully, they get some rest on Thursday since it is an off day because the Toronto Blue Jays are coming to town. Oh, Canada. Yeah, the Canadians are
the Canadian invasion.
The Canadian invasion is coming to T-Mobile Park starting on Friday. Luis Castillo is on the mound for the Mariners, pitching against the Blue Jays. Did he start in the series?
In Toronto, yes.
He did? Okay. He's going to be opposed by Kevin Gausman, who has been, I think he's had a good year, right?
I mean, he did fall down the stairwell once.
That's true. He did after he got thrown out of a game. That's true.
He's pitching to a 3.83 ERA in the year. Like, it's not, I don't think it's necessarily the 2022 or 2023 Gausman that we're going to see. Granted, because it's 2025. That's how time works.
Wow.
I know. He's made 7 starts, pitched 40 innings. He's 2-3. Like I said, a 3.83 ERA. He's striking out batters at 8.33 Ks per 9, which is down from his, I'd say, what you expect of him when he was in his, maybe his prime, I guess, when he was actually one of the better pitchers in baseball, specifically for the Blue Jays. Back in 2023, he had an 11.53 Ks per 9. So, what's Gausman going to look like? I'm not entirely sure. I know the Blue Jays have been going through a bit of a rough patch, so are we going to see that version of the Blue Jays again? I mean, they're 16-19 right now. Castillo on the bump again. Will he be able to? Specifically, also, I mean, the pitching at home, I feel like, is better. Just in general, like, the Mariners playing at home, having that advantage. Granted, like I said, we all know a lot of people come down from Canada for this series to be Toronto Blue Jays fans in T-Mobile. But that first game, it's pretty even, I think, between Gausman and Castillo. It could go either way, but given the year, given where they're playing, and given the team success overall, I'm going to give the advantage to the Mariners. I mean, the Mariners have the second best offense in baseball. Correct me if you've heard that one before. Second best offense in all of baseball by WRC Plus, still at a 124. The Blue Jays are 23rd with a 92. And then by team ERA, the Mariners are 13th with a 3.75. The Blue Jays, a 4.37. So they're both, the Blue Jays are 23rd in all of baseball, bottom third of the league in both team ERA and team WRC Plus. Even if Gausman is pitching decently this year, I mean, it's hard to not say that the Mariners have an advantage.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that Luis has looked pretty dang good so far this year. He had a little hiccup here and there, but overall 3.29 ERA on the year, so we feel pretty good about that. Game 2 with Logan Evans on the mound. I feel like this is another scenario where you say, man, I hope that if you win the second game, you probably win the series.
Sure.
He'll be opposed by Bowden Francis,
yep,
who I think pitched really well against the Mariners earlier this year, correct?
He did, but he's been like up and like the last 2 starts, I think, for him have not gone particularly well. But opposite Logan Evans, again, this is the coin flip game where you saw Evans get into some trouble, give up a couple runs. He does manage to limit the damage like a little bit against Texas there, but what does that say for him pitching at home? Because again, it's you're in a more comfortable environment making that start at home, and his first start came against the Marlins at home. I feel better about Evans in this one than I do in his previous starts. And opposite Bowden Francis, like, it's not an easy matchup necessarily for the Mariners, but if you catch maybe him at the right time where he's gotten roughed up, I think the last 2 outings.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a 5.66 ERA on the season. So if you're going to be able to get to anyone, I think this is a game where you feel okay with Logan Evans on the mound. Hopefully he's able to bounce back from his last start. It's against a team that I think is objectively worse than the Rangers.
I mean, both teams running very poor offenses.
True.
But I see your point.
And then in game 3, the wrap-up game here on Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
Shout out, moms.
On a Sunday, Bryce Miller, who we know has been really shaky, only went 4 innings the other day, is going to be opposed by Jose Urania.
Maybe. Urania if he starts. Nothing's listed on MLB.com. This is just on Fangraphs, like what they've got projected out for, I think, the previous turn through the rotation. If Urania is making this start in the big 2025, kind of crazy. I mean, he has been a journeyman for a minute. Like 2022, 2023, and 2025, all 2 teams. He's already been on 2 teams so far in 2020. Got an 8.59 ERA so far. This feels like the get right game where Bryce can go out there and maybe cruise.
Yeah.
You'd need something like that for him to get his confidence back, get that Texas strut back, the little swagger. If you can go out there, drop 5 on Urania, Maybe they turn to Yariel Rodriguez in long relief out of that in that situation. I don't know. I'm not fully certain about what the Blue Jays rotation looks like as it stands, because I mean, this is back-to-back series. You miss Chris Bassett, which is good. You do pick up Gossman in this one, but like
no Jose Barrios,
no Easton Lucas. So like, sure, there's some name, like I don't know. If it's Urania, you just need Bryce Miller to go out there and be like, hey, I got this. I have a 5-run lead. I got this. Let me just cruise.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that you'll see a lot of Cal in this series. You'll see a lot of Rowdy in this, because both guys go ham sandwich,
as the kids say,
versus the Toronto Blue Jays. It's going to be a fun one. It's always fun when the Blue Jays come to town with all the Blue Jays fans there. It's going to be a big homestand because you have that series, and then comes the big bad Yankees.
Yep.
So you really want to make sure you can win this series. It has now been a calendar month since the Mariners have lost their last series. On April 7th, this whole 9-series winning streak started a month ago today that we're recording this. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, and I hope they can go for 10. But that's going to do it from us here on episode 189 of the Hit It Here podcast, and go Mariners.